Near mint condition, the home of collected edition.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. Because you demanded it. That's right, you voted for it. Here it is, the Fantastic Four by Waid Wieringo Omnibus, back in print. So we're going to be taking an early look at this omnibus from Marvel Comics. Join me. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advance copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on June 4th or 5th, depending on where you get your books. And what we're looking at here is the direct market cover by Mike Wieringo. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover, also supplied by the legendary and gone way too soon, Mike Wieringo. And the direct market cover is only available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, bdcosmos.com, comicsbugle.com, readcomics.com, Diamond Breed Collectors, Organic Price Books, Tales of Wonder, and DCBS and in-stock trades, or your local comic book store, while the standard edition is available everywhere. But everything underneath the dust jacket is the same. So we are going to bring it back to this right here. For comic fans growing up in the 60s, you had Lee and Kirby. In the 80s, you had Byrne. And for millennials, there was writer Mark Waid and artist Mike Wieringo. That's from the Tech Times. I believe that quote was in the original printing too, by Waid and Wieringo, the Marvel logo down there. And the spine of the book, Marvel Omnibus, Fantastic Four, Waid Wieringo, Kessel, Buckingham, Jones, Porter, Smith, Medina, and the four. Oh no, Johnny's missing. So just the three down there, and this awesome image. I always love the way Mike Wieringo drew the Thing, and Richard Eisenov's colors on that is just so nice. Now, we are going to be comparing it to the original printing. This is the one that came out in 2018. This is also the standard edition cover. Again, you have Eisenov doing the colors, but this time around Karl Kessel is doing the inks, as well as over here. And the spine right here. Down here, you just have the Thing, Fantastic Four, looking a little more bluish this time around. The Marvel logo up there. And Kessel, Buckingham, Jones, Porter, Smith, Medina, looking about the same, but just the Thing. And then the back of the book, which is the cover of the book this time around. And there we go. The retail price of this one is $100. The retail price of the 2024 printing, 6 years later, also $100. And let's look underneath the dust jacket. Actually, let's look over here because we got to look at the flaps first. You want to do a comic, you make it about people, not about costumes, and people will care. Oh my gosh. Truer words. The creators over here, Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo, who never got to see this omnibus. Okay, so here is the new design, which has like the star all over the place, like stars and galaxies, and the 4 logo. I'm surprised they didn't go back to this, but this is what the old design looked like, or the original printing. Let's look at it like this, because this one, the original printing is printed at the Donley printer, and the new printing is printed at the iMac printer. So it's just a little bit thinner than this one over here. Of course, we'll do an internal comparison too. All right, let's crack this book open and talk about these magnificent issues, and then we'll look at the comparison between both omnis. All right, let's go ahead and crack this book open. We have your white end sheets, very similar to the original printing. Wish they had done stars again. I really like the patterns. And then the 4, walking out of the 4 right there in this title page. Fantastic Four by Waid and Wieringo. Mark Waid, Karl Kessel writing those issues. Mike Wieringo being the main penciler, but also Mark Buckingham, Casey Jones, Howard Porter, Paul Smith, and Paco Medina. Karl Kessel supplying a lot of the inks in here, but Mark Buckingham and Danny Mickey, Alan Martinez, Paul Mounds being the colors, but Matt Miller and Avalon Studios, and the lettering by Richard Starking, who is such a master of the craft, and Albert Deschesney, and Chris Elepolis. Cover art and other credits over here, and then the credits for the people behind the scenes. Oh, I love this. It's how you get to know the characters right here. Each one at a different point. And then you have Franklin and Valeria right there. Introduction by Ralph Macchio. comparing the Fantastic Four to Imaginauts. Not so much so superheroes, but people that just have to do the right thing because they have superpowers. So they get involved, not because they are superheroes fighting crime or looking at a watchtower, or from their watchtower rather, but because they have to step up because they have powers and someone has to. I said magnificent, so yeah, I'm going to try not to geek out too much about this one. But if you've been watching my channel for a while now, you know that this is my favorite run of the Fantastic Four. I love it. So this collects Fantastic Four 60 through 70. Now that's after the series relaunch, after Heroes Return. And then it goes back to the legacy number 500 to 524, and the 500 director's cuts in here. 896 pages, $100. This is the 9-cent adventure. This is how you kick it off. Marvel did these things like DC did too. DC did the Batman 10-cent adventures. I think it was an uncanny 25-cent adventure, but it was like, hey, let's get new readers in here by charging 9 cents for this comic. And this was Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo coming back together to tell a particular story. And of course, this is the team that worked on The Flash. So this isn't the first time that they've worked together. And man, did they bring the magic. So at the very beginning, we're seeing people talk about the Fantastic Four, and you're like, okay, is it a group of supervillains? It looks like they're in business suits. And no, it turns out that they are just people working for their PR. So they tell Mr. Schertzner, this guy right here, to go and hang out with the Fantastic Four for a week. So they know how to market them more. So they know how to market the comics, how to market their toys. And it's a character study on each of the 4 family members as they're going on adventures, whether it's through the negative zone or fighting things here on our plane of existence, learning about each of their powers, but more importantly, learning about the characters themselves, learning about the family and what makes them tick, how they function as a family, seeing how popular the character of Ben Grimm is amongst this is going to be a little bit dated because of the groups that they name, like Cypress Hill and Linkin Park. Hey, groups like that, but like also Wizard Magazine and these magazines that no longer exist. And Donnie Bonaducci being on Howard Stern instead of the Human Torch. So he learns a lot about them. But one of my favorite things that Mark Waid does, by the way, minor spoilers going into this, is that he does bring it back home. He brings it back as a reminder of what makes this group work is the human side of things. The aspect of that they are flawed people. If you ask most people who their favorite character of the Fantastic Four is, most of them will probably say The Thing, or the Human Torch, or the Invisible Woman. You know, very few will say Mr. Fantastic because of the way he's been written. There's few writers that can actually take that character and elevate him. And I feel like that's what Mark Waid did in this run. There's this amazing moment right here where he is holding Valeria, and he's kind of sharing this internal thoughts with her, like how he feels guilty for destroying his friends' lives. So the way that he deals with it, just in this freaking page alone, is he makes sure that they are celebrities and that they're secret identity, that they don't have secret identities, that the world knows who they are, so they're treated like celebrities. They have flashy costumes because in a way that's a redemption for him. He's like, maybe one day they'll learn to forgive me for what I did, because he holds himself responsible for that wreckage that, you know, gave them radiation and gave them their powers. And I thought that was so powerful for a character like Reed Richards, because a lot of people are like, smart guy, smartest guy in the room. Okay, he's going to figure out how to beat Galactus, of course. But there's this beautiful human side to him that we don't see a lot of writers tackle. So it was wonderful to see him deal with that. The next story in here is the Yancey Street, how they're pulling pranks on Ben, and he just has enough. So he's going to go and find them. He's going to find out who the Yancey Street gang is. And we get the next story. This introduces us to a new character that goes by Modulus. It's the Sentient story. And it's pretty much this AI, like, I guess this is a Palm Pilot because of the time. And it comes to life, but it comes to life with a twist, right? It's not, well, it is menacing, but it's doing menacing things for a reason. There are lots, and I mean lots of moments like this in the omnibus, where it's just two characters. This is just Ben Grimm having his own seat, by the way, in the movie theater. I love that nice touch. And Sue just watching a movie together. That's it. There's a lot of moments in here like that. That's why this run is so important to me. I love it because they do take a step back and make you care about the characters themselves. And you don't need to have been a fan of the Fantastic Four before reading this because you'll enjoy it. This is the Mark Buckingham stories right here. You'll get to know the characters. Like, this is how a lot of my viewers got into Fantastic Four, was because of this run. It's phenomenal, and it'll make you want to check out other Fantastic Fours runs, and you'll want to. All right. Oh my gosh. Doom's back. Man, is Doom back, and when he comes back with a vengeance. And, you know, for people that are like, this art's a little too cartoony, Mike Wieringo has range. Let me tell you, I thought the same thing, like, even back long before this, when he was doing, like, The Flash. It's like, yeah, his art's too cartoony. But there are moments when he can bring out the darkness, and you're like, whoa, that is messed up. Especially in this unthinkable storyline. And it is the story of the Fantastic Four versus Doctor Doom. And it is an amazing story. He ends up kidnapping Franklin Richards and throwing him in hell. He wants to take over Valeria. He feels like she's got potential. But at the end of the day, Doctor Doom reminds you why he is one of the most evilest villains in the Marvel Universe. And damn, does it get dark. And it starts off dark. You're like, whoa. I love this story. This new armor has a background to it, like a story that goes with it, that it just goes dark places. Now, he takes him to hell because he wants to torture Reed. He wants to prove that he is still the smartest in the room. He thinks in order to do that, he needs to go back to his magical roots, the sorcery aspect of life, instead of science and technology, because he knows that he can best read at that. And you can find out for yourself exactly how that particular story ends up. Authoritative action, this is when the Fantastic Four end up running Latveria and the troubles that they have to deal with. When Latveria loves and adores and worships the ground that Doom walks on, and then the Fantastic Four is like, hey, we're here to liberate you. They don't see them like that. I think it's a really interesting story. Now, you'll notice something going on in Reed's face. And if you've been reading comics nowadays, you probably know, wait, that's not what his face looks like. Yeah, comics, everybody gets better. But the way he gets better is a beautiful story. But that is the next story arc. And then we get this right here. This is from issue 509. 500 is a big story, by the way. And this is the one I was talking about. This is Hereafter. Hereafter, to me, it's got to be top 5, maybe best, most favorite Fantastic Four stories. The Fantastic Four have to go somewhere to rescue one of their friends. And it's called Hereafter, so you can probably figure it out. And it is beautifully done, especially with the twist of who the creator is. Oh, if you haven't read about it, if you don't know anything about it, don't spoil it for yourself and look online. But it is completely amazing. I love it. Dysfunctional is the return of the Fearsome Four. The Wizard, of course, is in charge, and he's got a new team member, and he's got this particular story introduces us to maybe a family member for him, and yes, its whole dysfunctional family and how the Fearsome Four work different than the Fantastic Four. Paco Medina does the artwork for this one, and I've always been a fan of Paco Medina. He does have that Mike Mignola kind of cartoony flair. I love this right here. So creepy. Starting off in Halloween. But this is the Fortitude. So kind of leading into the last story arc here. Again, these were written back when Marvel, and to this day they still do, were pushing for the right to trade format. It's about 5 to 6 issues for different story arcs. But that is something creepy. One of the other things that Mark Waid did was also like give some character growth to Johnny Storm. Like Zoom says, hey, you need to be an executive. So we're going to put you as the executive of the Fantastic Four, Four Freedoms. And I thought that was really interesting. Now, this is very important because there's an attack from the heavens. Like, this big freaking, like, monoliths come down, and the world is shocked. They're like, what is going on? We need the Avengers. But then, keep in mind, this is during the time of Avengers Disassembled. I think this was actually called, or maybe the event or the label on it was just Fantastic Four Disassembled. But they don't really, because they're still together. So, when the world needs the Avengers, and the Avengers have been disassembled, who is it that they call? Well, none other than the Fantastic Four. And the Fantastic Four come, and they bring it, dude. And no matter what, they always put people first. Even their own lives at risk. I love the switch between Johnny and Sue's powers. So they do switch powers as part of the storyline here. I love what he does with Galactus, because Mark Waid, like, doesn't really play it safe. I like that. He doesn't play it safe. There's only really one storyline that he kind of played it safe, was the authoritative action, because it was very similar to what Chris Claremont had done just a couple of years earlier on the same run, about them taking over Latveria. But he doesn't play it safe with the other storylines. Like the Galactus storyline, the Fearsome Four storyline, he introduces new elements that still shocks you and awes you. I love that. The Doctor Doom, the Return of Doom, that thing was dark, man. But what he does with Galactus, I thought was really interesting, with a cool twist. And of course, you know, the characters are always written where somebody can always bring them back because of loopholes, right? That's just the way comics are. But how they defeat Galactus, I thought was awesome. And all I have to say about the ending is, enough said, man. Oh, classic. Alright, so in the back, this is the introduction to the Fantastic Four Volume 1, Volume 2, and I believe there were 3 volumes, weren't there? Was there no introduction to Volume 3? The covers right here, these are the connecting covers for the Inhumans storyline. This is before Mike Wieringo became the ongoing artist. Oh man, and then what the Maker gives him, the gift. Oh, it's so beautiful. If you haven't read it, you're in for a treat. Oh, this is just Mike Wieringo cover, sketches. The director's cut right here that goes behind the scenes. The character designs, and the printography, rather, of the Fantastic Four, going all the way to issue 500. Deleted scenes from issues 503 and 511. The email exchanges between our creators, Mark, and also the editors, too. That's the other thing, too. I think that, what was his name? Ares, I think? Oh! The Fantastic Four farewell sketch by Mike Wieringo. That's so beautiful. I love that. One of the things I didn't talk about, because I usually tend to stay out of these kind of things, but there was something that happened when... Oh, this is the Spider-Man, so I didn't even talk about the team-up. You can be surprised for yourself. But anyway, there was something that was happening when Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo were on the book. So people in charge wanted the story to go another way. And Mark Waid was like, no, that doesn't fit what we're doing. It makes no sense. So they were kind of fired. Actually, they weren't kind of fired. They were fired off the book. And it was up to people demanding them to get their jobs back. And that's how they got their jobs back. Because if you want to know what that the alternate take on the Fantastic Four was going to be, it was the Marvel Knights 4. That's the route that other people in charge wanted to go. And Marvel Knights 4 is fun, but it's a lot different than this. And plus it introduces us to Steve McNiven, or introduced me to Steve McNiven. That's the first time I ever saw his artwork. But, man, there was just magic in the air when this story came out. It's so freaking awesome. So good. Okay, I try to be completely neutral when doing these, but when it's my favorite run, it's really difficult. I'm pretty sure most people can tell how hyped up I am with my voice when I talk about these books. Okay, let's talk about the binding, because we looked at your end sheets. So you have white end sheets. The binding. 896 pages, not much of an eye, so what does that mean? Well, let's look at some spreads. So, for example, this spread right here from the Sentient issue has some gutter loss, like Just Us 2, you can't even see the S. You have to hold it down. There we go. So it's that kind of gutter loss right there that you're going to be getting. As far as the paper stock, this is printed at the iMac printer. And they seem to be printing these latest books in a thicker, glossy paper than what I've seen them print books in before. So it's been like that for the last 2 or 3 months. But it's really case by case, because there was a book I reviewed just a couple of weeks ago that had thinner paper stock than this, also by the iMac. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and compare it to the original printing. Alright, let's go ahead and crack this open. So you have your original printing here on the left, then the new printing on the right-hand side. Same title, Uncanny Omar Pretty One Day title page. And you see the same font. Introduction is the same. Mainly looking for the bleed through that's happening. Okay, so you get a little bit more bleed through here than you do over here. Again, this is the Donnelly printer on the left-hand side and the iMac printer on the right. But, I mean, it's a very small difference. We find another example right here where you do see some here, but it's a little more prominent over here. And I mean a little bit more. Now, let's compare the way the books lay over. So the original printing over here and the new printing over there. And yeah, this one lays down a lot better, and that's mainly due to the eye. While this one over here, you do get some gutter loss. Let's see if we can compare the colors, because I feel like that is something very important in this run. I've really enjoyed them. They're very vibrant, they're very loud, and honestly, they look the same. There's really not much difference in between the two printings, even with the paper stock. And honestly, the paper stock, that was the other thing I could have done. Sorry about that. It's just a little bit thinner, which again explains, I mean, it's very small, but it's just a little bit more bleed through than over here. But the way the book is bound is the big difference, and why this one seems a lot thinner than this one. Because if the eye on the Donnelly looks like that, which is, whoa, that's a little too much, maybe. But that's it. It's back in print. If you haven't read it, man, you are in for a treat. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $200 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada.
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build, and of course the comparison to the original printing of this Fantastic Four Omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below what other era you would love to see collected in Omnibus format, what you thought of this particular story, and of course, the question that I always ask, what's your favorite Fantastic Four era, or your favorite Fantastic Four story, or your favorite Fantastic Four event, or even single issue? If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. We are also on Patreon and Spreadshop, which are amazing ways that you can support the channel, if you can do so. And a big thank you to our patrons for making videos like this possible. So, signing off here. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.